What's up, fighting fans? Tips from the Fight IQ channel. Today we come back for a new episode of the Fight IQ Unplugged. Today it's a bit special as it will not be a fighter that comes with us, but a business manager. His name is Drake Jimenez. He is the owner and founder of Media. But without further ado, let's have a chat with him. So what's up, fighting fans? Tips from the Fight IQ channel. I'm today with Drake Jimenez. Drake is a business manager not only in the fighting world, but he has also two fighters in his roster, Budka, newly contracted UFC fighter, and Chelsea Connor, LFA fighter. He's also the owner and founder of Media, a business management company based in Ohio, in Defiance, if I'm correct. Thanks for being with us, Drake.
Thanks for having me, brother. Excited to be here.
Thank you. So, Drake, let's start a bit about your early interest into business management. So, when did you become first interested into that kind of business?
Yeah, man. So I grew up with a love for creativity and a love for mixed martial arts, and
Nice.
I didn't necessarily have an idea of how to make those things connect in my career. So in my professional career, like early on, I was just doing jobs to make money. I wasn't doing jobs to do something I want to do, to make an impact, to create a business at all. But I had an opportunity to do so in 2020.
Nice.
Right before the pandemic, actually. It's crazy, man. But I called my mentor. His name's Kent, and I said, "Hey, man, I'm not happy here. I'm just serving other people's vision and mission, and I'm not creating something myself. I feel like I'm not doing as much as I'm created to do. I feel like there's more for me." And he said, "You need to put your 30-day notice in now, or you never will."
All right.
So I put in my 30-day notice, and he knew that I wanted to start a marketing agency and a business management company. And so what happened really, man, was the interest for marketing came from high school. We had a marketing class in high school and a psychology class, and the only two classes I liked, the only two classes I paid attention to, and the only two classes I did very well in. So when I got older, and I'm tired of just. I was working in a nonprofit before. I was working in corporate marketing. I said, I can do this myself.
Sure.
I can create my freedom. I can make this business eventually work for me instead of me working for my own business. And decided to quit my job in 2020, start Holy Hill Media, which is a business and marketing management company that promotes small businesses, and now also in a place where obviously we're managing two fighters as well.
And do you recall a specific moment your friend mentioned that you should quit your job and start your own thing? But was there a specific moment that you said, "Okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm done serving other people's purposes, and that's my time"? Was there a specific thing that brought this, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. There was. It came. It was actually two moments in the same week. One, at that point in time I was making $47,000 a year.
Okay.
And I was running an entire department of a nonprofit organization. And they asked me to write a grant so that we can get funding to stay overnight on a Friday night until 3 a.m.
Okay.
And I'm like, why does my commitment to this company always come at my cost and not theirs?
Yeah.
So that following Monday, I came to work and I asked to make a change in our marketing for our department, and they pretty much just ignored me. And so from Friday to Monday, I realized that I'm serving somebody else's mission, which is fine, but now you're taking my time without paying me more. And on Monday, you won't even implement my ideas. So now you're taking my time. You won't even take my ideas. And so it was the last straw for me.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds enough. That sounds enough. And you mentioned that you were a MMA fan as well, a fighting fan. And what makes you want to work with fighter as well? Like, what made you, okay, I'm going to promote fighters. I'm going to make it a part of my daily activities.
So I grew up, I was in the Taekwondo, wrestling, kickboxing, boxing. They're just in and out of different martial arts.
Uh-huh.
And I had always loved mixed martial arts, but I didn't choose to pursue it because there really wasn't a lot of people doing that around here. So I didn't think it was even,
Yeah.
an opportunity to pursue. Um, and I've always loved the sport. So I've always wondered, how can I get close back to the sport to be able to just be involved? Because I just believe it's a beautiful, pure sport. Um, and I got involved because Dylan, uh, one of my athletes now, he reached out for a sponsorship.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wrote him a check. I met him up. I gave him the check, but I said, hey, would love to meet you, just see who I'm handing my money to.
Sure.
And I just want to be able to offer any help that I can. He's like, well, what do you do? I'm like, well, I own a marketing agency. And he said, okay, great. Let me pick your brain on this, that, and the other. So he started asking me about how often he should post, what kind of content he should post, what kind of promotions he should be a part of, things like that. And long story short, man, he that day he said, you're my marketing manager now.
So that's cool.
I said, yeah. And then 6 months later, he called me. He's like, hey, man, before you see it in my Instagram bio, you're now my business manager. I want you to do all my business stuff.
All
And
right.
so, yeah. So that's how essentially I got back into, I guess, mixed martial arts, especially management.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's a nice story that you don't hear that a lot. That kind of business happening, right?
Yeah, right.
Now let's go a bit into the early struggles because I'm sure there was, especially you mentioned that it was right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Can you share a specific struggle or obstacle that you met while you were trying to establish Oli Health Media?
Yeah, man. There's a lot, man. Um, Early on in 2020, when I started the business, I saved up $6,000, and I thought that was enough money to get me to, and at least last me until I found more and more clients. And 1,200 of that 6,000 was a stimulus check that the government sent everybody. It wasn't the money I saved up. I just happened to hit my account because everybody got it. Man, the biggest struggle early on was trying to get somebody to trust me enough to work on their marketing being brand new. And I remember April hit and I'd only had 2 clients in the
Okay.
3 months I've been in business. And it was great. I was grateful for those clients, but it wasn't enough to create a business and be able to pay for equipment or hire people. And so I remember in April calling my buddy Josh and saying, I quit my job. So now I can't collect unemployment because I chose to leave
Yeah.
my job. And we're in the middle of a pandemic. And this is a brand new business, Holy Hill Media. And nobody gives a shit about Holy Hill Media because they don't know who Holy Hill
Yeah.
Media is or what Holy Hill Media does. So I'm almost panicking in April. I'm like, what did I do? I've got like $1,000 in my bank account, which is more than some, but not much in today's day and age. And here, and especially in where I live. And so the doubt started coming into my mind. Do I need to go get a job?
Yeah.
Should I go work for somebody else again? But then I remembered the feelings that I told you I had when I wanted to quit in the first place
Yeah.
and start Holy Hill Media. And so I'm overwhelmed by those feelings and I'm too stubborn. So I said, okay, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. 2 months went by. I still didn't get any clients, but I did get another stimulus check.
Okay.
So that helped me a little bit, kind of string along a little bit
Kept it going.
further.
Yeah.
Yeah, kept it going. But then sometime in like July or August, I had landed a big contract with 2 pawn shops in my town and an hour away that this guy owns. And he brought me on to essentially be their full-time marketer. So he let me do it under Holy Hill Media, but I was there
Yeah.
3 to 4 days a week. So I was pretty much working for him full time, but I was just charging him as Holy Hill Media. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, that's during that season I almost quit. I remembered why I started it. I kept going, but it was the money, man. I got too low on funds and I almost had to go get a job
Yeah.
multiple times.
But you kept it going, and I think that means
Yeah.
a lot, right? That you didn't
Yeah.
quit. You pursued your goals, and in the end, that's working. So that's great lesson.
Yeah.
But how did you kept going? So you say that you got another stimulus check from the government, but after that, how did you navigate through all the challenges you got, and which lesson did you get from those challenges?
Yeah. That's another good question, man. From there, I had the confidence now to believe in myself to say, I can make this happen. I can do this.
Yeah.
And so when I got, essentially it was like my 4th client at that time, the pawn shops, I knew that if I could produce for them and make them money,
Yeah.
that I can go around and tell everybody else, look what I did with them. I can do this for you. And so what happened there was the only thing that changed, but what changed everything was my belief in myself. At that point, I knew that I didn't make a mistake. I knew that I wasn't a fool. I knew I wasn't going to have to be embarrassed and say, oh, Drake, he tried to do this business thing, the Holy Hill Media, and then it flopped. No, I wasn't going to let that happen. And now I could believe in myself enough to keep going. And I think what I learned in that was give it one more day.
Yeah.
Every time when you want to quit, just give one more day, do one more interview, do one more month of business, go to the gym, train one more time. You know what I mean? Because if you just take it day by day and step by step, time by time, you allow yourself to not have to go up against the world or your own image for your future. I'm just doing what I can right now, right here, right now. And that's all I have to offer the world. And so I would say what I learned from that season was just the self-awareness to take it step by step, and self-belief is the largest, most valuable asset that an entrepreneur could have.
So that's a great advice, man. I think it's really well echoes with people. I think a lot of people go through that struggle and are like, as you said, maybe embarrassed that maybe they will not succeed. And I think that's a great,
Yeah.
great lesson you're teaching now.
Thank you.
Were there obstacles particular to the fighting world, or was it more general business? Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely struggles in the fight world. So when I started taking on fighters to manage fighters, the the trouble that I had was I didn't realize how much work it would be. Keeping Dylan on track and keeping Dylan to look at his calendar, to be at meetings on time, to review his contract, talk to his sponsor. It's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work. Chelsea, she's more I wouldn't say responsible. She's just more organized. So it's a lot easier to get, her podcast scheduled because she just checks her calendar, right?
Yeah.
I would say the biggest thing early on was that I wasn't making much money off of managing at all, but I loved it. But it was taking time away from what I had to do to provide for me and my wife.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And my biggest struggle was deciding, do I want to keep doing this because I'm passionate about it, or do I need to spend more time and energy on the things that make me more money?
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, it was just because Dylan and I's relationship, we have a brotherhood at this point. It's not just, it's not just business. He's a brother. And so that was a decision that I made early on because we got really close really fast.
Tough decision, right?
Yeah, tough decision, man. You ain't kidding, man. You ain't kidding.
Did you have particular setbacks that were marking your way? Because you said first there was the financial struggle, of course, because of COVID and stuff like this. But were there also type of setbacks you were like, damn, this one I would like to land this client or something like this?
Yeah, man. There was a client that I had signed. Well, I had a proposal to him I was gonna make from him around 600,000 a year off one client.
Whoa.
And yeah, man, it would have been life changing,
Yeah,
right?
for real.
Yeah. And long story short, man, I met with them. I sat down. I told them all about the services. Everything was great, and I just didn't hear from him for 3 weeks. And then he says, "Yeah, I'll be in touch soon." And then another 4 weeks go by. A month goes by. "I'll be in touch soon." And then another 6 weeks go by. And then he finally says, we'll talk at the end of the year. And so I never heard back from him. And that was one that I started making plans too soon. Like, this is what we could do with this, what we could do with that. I'm all excited. And then it didn't go through. And I'm like, I'm disappointed, but like, I wasn't disappointed with my business before. So why am I going to let that, break my confidence?
Yeah.
But that set me back, man, because I thought I was going to go to a different level in business, and I did not.
Yeah, okay. That's really a bummer, especially that kind of money that's, as you say, life changing.
Yeah, it's significant.
So you use those kind of setback in order to progress, right? To develop yourself professionally, personally, maybe also gives you a lesson. And are there also setbacks that you used in a positive way? I mean, was there some kind of not, I wouldn't say failure because it's not failure, but maybe something you didn't land or you couldn't do like you wanted to, but at the end it was positive?
Yeah. I'll give you two quick ones. One, I want to use Dylan as an example.
Yeah,
He lost in the LFA middleweight championship, and it was a 5-round war.
for real.
It was crazy, and the fight was amazing. It was a work of art, but I think that his opponent, man, he had his cardio and his pressure ended up being, a little bit too much. I got to see that rematch though. I'm bitter about it. But I think that experience right there, man, it crushed me because it crushed Dylan.
Yeah,
And if he wins that fight, he probably gets a contract
yeah, right away, sure.
right away. And so we're having conversations, and he's like, I don't know if I want to fight for LFA right now because if they wouldn't, they didn't know if they're going to extend the contract, didn't win. Well, they had an offer to extend his contract, but he's like, I don't know if I want to do that. I think I should pivot here, get another 2 wins under my belt. Long story short, man, that moment right there reminded me of when we didn't land that $500,000 to $600,000 client. Looking too far into the future and not paying enough attention to right now.
Yeah,
And I think what that taught me, I can't speak for Dylan, you could ask him that on the call, but what that taught me was that this fight game, this business world, it's a war of battles.
yeah,
You can only fight the battle that's at your front doorstep. You can't fight the next one, or else you're going to lose the one at your front doorstep. And I think that as we were getting ahead of ourselves, and I'll say me, getting my ahead of myself, trying to line up, certain meetings with sponsors for him, all these types of, different opportunities, because just had confidence in him winning. I think that kind of gave me an awareness to say, it reminded me of the past.
yeah.
And I said, we need to take it day by day. But yeah, I'll go with that one, man. I would say that's probably the
Yeah, so that's a good one. I
one that's
think.
relevant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so being an entrepreneur, it's also making tough decisions, right? Was
Yeah.
there one that you particularly remember, a tough decision that you had to make related to fighters management or else?
Yeah. The hard decision is since I started managing Dylan, I get a lot of phone calls about managing other fighters. Some guys that I would love to work with, some guys that Dylan has good relationships with, and sometimes I admire as fighters, but I don't have the time to manage them. And so I had to make the decision that I'm only going to manage 2 fighters, Dylan and Chelsea, which is hard, but would I do more? Maybe if it paid better. You know what I mean? Because then I'd be able to have more time away from work. But my focus right now is my business, Holy Hill Media. My focus is Dylan, and my focus is Chelsea in business. And so I just don't want to spread myself around anymore. You know what I mean? That was a hard decision to make because we were gaining momentum with Dylan. It would have been easy to take on this fighter and that fighter.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I would say the other hard decision I had to make was I had somebody that was working for me, and this person wanted to buy into ownership for the business because we were growing and growing and growing, and he wanted to buy into the ownership of the business. But this person did not bring anything to the table to help the business grow. But this person was working for me at the time. So we dragged this conversation on for about a year. And then eventually I had to tell this person, this isn't going to work out. I don't think that you're the right partner for me right now.
Yeah.
But this person still worked for me after that. It's a really hard conversation to have. And so I would say that's probably the hardest one emotionally. But I make hard decisions all the time, man. It's business. So it's kind of the name of the game.
That's really mature, I guess, because if the guy kept working with you and for you, I think it's nice to be able to separate those two part of the chain. So
Exactly.
that's cool. Do you have maybe advices, like imagine there is a young guy like you were when you were starting your own business that comes to you and like, okay, give me some advice, I want to be in fighter management. What would you say to him?
What I would say would be that if you want to get into fighter management, you got to love the sport.
Yeah.
When you get into it, it's a game of passion. It's not a game of money and glory and fame. It's not like that. It's not. When you get into it, and to be honest with you, I never fought professionally, none of that. I would recommend 2 things somebody wouldn't get into it. 1, go train so you know what it's like. And two, start small.
Okay.
Start small, because if you can get in and help an amateur get pro, then you can help a pro get to the next level as well. But start small, because fighters really rely on their managers. They really trust them. And if you get in with a fighter and you can't help them, and you're going to do more of a disservice for them, they can trust you, and you make them all these promises and you don't follow up with it, you're not just hurting your career, you're hurting theirs.
Yeah.
So you have to start small to learn the big lessons early when it's not as detrimental if you fail, and then learn together. Be real. Find a fighter and say, let's grow together. Let's learn this thing together. Help each other out along the way. And if I can throw a little bonus hint in there too, create content.
Yeah.
Educate fighters on your social media through videos and stuff like that. And I've done a piss poor job at that. And my excuse is that I'm busy, but I could make time. But create content. Get on podcasts like this, because it helps you find the pulse of the industry, and it allows you to tap in and add value to the industry without having to work with people.
I think that's a great advice, because that's a part of the job. That's part of the
Yeah.
fighter side that we never see. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
you don't hear a lot about managers. You hear more about coaches, fighters, which is also the name of the game, right? That those are the
Yeah.
people you see the most. But it's important to shine a bit of light on the shadow side, right?
Yeah, man. I appreciate that.
And let's talk a bit more about Holy Hill Media, because you are fighters managers, but you are also involved in different businesses. What kind of
Yeah.
businesses is Holy Hill Media involved in?
Yep. So, Holy Hill Media, I do consulting for small business owners, creators, a couple medium-sized business owners as well. But the majority of what we do is actually marketing.
Okay.
We sell marketing services. So we will run social media accounts, create photo, video, graphic design. We do websites, social ads, Google ads, SEO, and email marketing.
All right.
And so sometimes people choose it all. Sometimes they pick one or two of them. Sometimes they pick one. But yeah, we provide marketing services for other businesses.
Okay. Also, when you try to implement a new business like Holy Hill Media, you have to establish your brand.
Yeah.
How did you develop your brand identity for Holy Hill Media?
That's a good question. It's a really good question. So this is vital when starting another business, because your brand is how other people perceive who you are and what you have to offer. What I did early on was I built my brand locally first, like physically within reach. I didn't have I was doing everything myself early on, so I didn't have the time or capacity to create 5 videos a day and post them on social media. So I just went to networking groups. I created a system of people who would talk about me and I would talk about them. And that's how I started getting business. So I created it physically first, because that's who I was trying to sell to. And then I went straight to social media as soon as I could. And I'm more or less only adding value to the people that I wanted to work with, like clients that I wanted to work with.
Yeah.
So I asked myself, what's their problem and how can I solve it? And why is my solution better than the next guy's? And I talked about that all the time. Solutions, ideas, solutions. But I don't know if you're familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk.
Much.
No. Okay. Gary V. I learned this from him, but he says jab, 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 right hook. Add value, educate, add value, and then you ask, and then you go sell to them after you've already added the value. So value heavy branding and do it in volume.
And how did you attract your first clients?
Yeah. So the first clients came from just networking, talking with people. The first client we ever had was a radio station in Fort Wayne, Indiana called Star 88.3. And the reason that I landed that client was my buddy Josh, if you remember, I mentioned him earlier in the podcast. He said, hey, will you come with me to meet this lady named Melissa? I don't really know her, but he was just networking.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, I'll go. Went to the Brand's Chocolate in Fort Wayne and sat down. And I'm like, I don't even know why I'm here, but here I am in my black jeans and my torn up, you know what I mean? Looking like a whatever I thought was cool back then. And that day just because we had a rapport built between us three, she offered him a job and me a contract with Star
Okay.
883. So from there, though, I knew that my best bet to get a second client was to be able to work on the people that she knows. If I could do a good job for her, she'll talk about me. She'll tell me her friends about me. So I put together an incentive plan that if she would tell 3 to 4 friends, I'll take some money off her contract.
All
So from
right.
there, that's how we started growing.
Nice. Nice
Yeah.
strategy, I think.
Yeah.
And you're working in a really competitive field. I mean,
Yeah.
business management is really something like I wouldn't say a trend, but that's really something vital now for businesses.
Yeah.
How did you build the credibility for yourself and Holy Hill Media also to work in the fighting management?
Yeah. That was actually a hard transition. Why would a guy that owns a marketing agency be able to manage a fighter?
Yeah, right.
Um, Honestly, man, I wish I had a better answer, but Dylan just told me I was his manager. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So to convince people here, but here's what I'll say. We took a very unique approach. We said we're going to make sure his coach is still in the light, essentially as his head coach, and
Yeah.
then I would be his business manager. And but Dylan's the head of it all,
Yeah.
almost like a business. And so I didn't tell anybody that I'm going to be choosing his fights for him or anything like that. I told him I was going to help him make money and I'm going to protect him with contracts and all this other stuff, help him find sponsors, get on podcasts, things like that, promote him, grow his following so he can negotiate better with contracts, things like that. I just stayed in my lane. I just said, I'm the business guy in the MMA world. And we started doing things and we started growing on socials and all this other stuff. And
Yeah.
people just kind of just started saying, okay, I guess it works. So yeah, I wish I had a better answer, man. But he just told me, and
That's
we just been doing
that's
it
a great
since.
answer. And
Thank you, man.
last question about the early days
Yeah.
of Real Media. Was there a strategic partnerships or a collab that played a crucial role in the establishment of Real Media?
Oh man, you've got good questions, brother. Yeah, really good questions. I would say this, man. I didn't have a collaborative partnership, but I had a lot of mentors. And
Okay.
by a lot, I mean I had two, but I spent a lot of time with them. Um, my mentors were more important to me during the early season than my any partnerships I could have because I couldn't find a collaborative partnership because I didn't have anything to bring to the table yet. You know what I mean? But what my mentors did is they gave me advice and opportunities that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And they didn't even ask me to pay. I offered to pay them all the time. They wouldn't, they just did it because they saw where they used to be starting up and they wanted to help. And so although I didn't have early on collaborative partnerships, I had mentors and these two coaches, and they probably did for me what a collaborative partnership would have done
Yeah.
in business.
They believed in you and they inspire you to believe in yourself as well, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
really
Yes.
important. So now we're going into a small interlude that I call the Fight IQ Dash. So 10 questions, 2 answers possible, answer as fast as possible. First thing that comes to mind. You
Okay.
answered a bit some of them, but yeah, let's do it again. First
Let's do
question.
it.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go. For fighters promotion, you're more into social media or traditional marketing?
Social media.
For the to build a fighters fan base, you're more into fan interaction or sponsors?
Fan interactions.
What's the greater challenge? Develop a fighter's brand or managing contracts?
I gotta answer fast. A brand. Managing a
Okay.
fighter's brand.
Okay. For the expansion focus on Holy Media, regional base or global presence?
Global.
All right. What's the harder part? Acquiring clients or renewing their terms?
Good question. Acquiring clients, new clients.
Mm-hmm.
Once I get them, they stay.
Yeah, that's nice. Priority in expansion related to fighters management. Quantity of fighters or quality?
Quality.
What's more effective for a promotion? In-person event attendance or online engagement?
Online engagement.
What are you more into contracts, short term or long term?
Long term.
And you're more responding to the market trends or setting new trends?
Both.
All right. Okay. And for client representation, you like to use the technology or are you more into personal touch?
Technology.
All right. So that was it. You did really good.
Thanks, man. That was fun.
Now we go more into the day-to-day operation into Holy Hell Media as it is right now. So,
Okay.
what would be a day into Holy Hell Media right now?
Yeah. So right now we are in Defiance, Ohio, Austin, Texas, and Wilmington, North Carolina.
Wow.
Yep, 3 locations, and it looks a little bit different in each location. But I'll say this because Defiance, Ohio, is our main hub for
Okay.
business. The other two are still new.
Yeah.
Our day to day is typically starting at 8 a.m. We come in. The first thing that we do is we get our emails, make sure that all the emails responded to for our clients and our partners. After that, we start going to work. We have a team, so they're all doing different things,
Yeah.
but we have people running social and Google ads, building websites and working on SEO, and then photo, video, graphic design, and then project management. And so after we get done with the emails, we start looking at what's the priority list for the day.
All
What
right.
do we need to be working on? What do we need from our other teammates? How do we communicate to one another to be able to get what we need to do our job? So on Monday, for example, we have a team alignment meeting at like 10 a.m. every Monday. And it's so that everybody can know what everybody's working on. We can ask if we need, help with
Yeah.
anything. And then we make sure that we're connecting because we're going fully remote. And so after that, we start working on our day. What my day starts looking like is I start doing a lot of meetings.
Oh, yeah, the boss.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, right. It's sometimes it's tiring, but I love what I do, man. I meet every month with my accountant, make sure the numbers are good. I meet with my COO to plan for making our operations more efficient and talking about new ideas. I meet with my partner in Texas to talk about sales. And then throughout the week, I'm selling, meeting with my employees just to make sure they're doing okay.
Yeah.
And then from there, busy work, man, administrative work, just kind of doing what needs done, paying bills, stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of work.
Yeah,
Sometimes traveling to the other locations, or are you more?
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yes, sir.
And so you anticipated a question of mine, which was the articulation of the team. So you say that tasks were separated. There was people running the Google ads and stuff like this. But what is more important, I think, is what qualities do you value in your coworkers?
That's a good question. I would say there's, I would say this, the qualities I value, especially when I'm looking for somebody when I'm hiring them.
Yeah.
Um, I need somebody who is honest, coachable, driven, and they're good communicators. That's one of the biggest things. Do they tell me if they need help? Do they share ideas? Are they quick with response? Can they speak to somebody with empathy and understand that, we're working with people. We have
Yeah.
to be able to consider them, whoever's on the other side of the table. Yeah, I would say those qualities,
Okay.
probably most important.
Bonus question that I didn't thought about before, but
Yeah.
do you value the education, or you're more when you're recruiting someone, you're more into what you feel on the moment?
That's a man. You got good questions, brother. Got good questions, man. I would say this: the education. If somebody came to me and they said I have a business or a marketing degree, brother, I dropped out of college 2 times. I dropped out twice, and what I learned is this: experience and passion will beat education every day of the week, because the real world experience people get mad at me when I say this, and that's okay. I'll piss them off now or tomorrow. It doesn't matter. I believe that the real world experience gives you the tools necessary to fix more problems than just what you just fixed in business.
Okay.
School gives you a tool bag and say figure out how to use them, but business it shows you on the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I believe experience and the belief in that person. Yeah, I think that's more valuable than education.
I like that because I agree.
Yeah.
I also agree. And how do you guys manage to work into the fighters management business and mix it up with other businesses?
That's been tricky, man.
Yeah.
That has been tricky. Some of my employees early on, they're like, "What are we doing? We're working with fighters now? Like, where'd this come from, dude?" And I'm like, "Sorry." So I guess I didn't mention this before, but just because we're not managing more fighters, we're still doing photo for them, graphic design for different fighters. That
Okay.
Dylan talks about it, or they see him, or they message me on Instagram, hey, will you create a hoodie for me? Will you do the photo shoot for me? Will you create me a logo? Will you consult me on this? To mix these two, we had to really make our mission very clear.
Okay.
And we had to protect what already existed in our business and make sure that at the end of the day, our priority was the businesses that we were serving. And it was my job to deliver what the fighters need on time. So what we did was we sat down with the team and said, we're going to start expanding and start working with some of these fighters. And the reaction of the team was kind of like, some of them were excited. Some of them were like, I don't think I like this. But the way I said it was this: I was like, you're going to get a chance to be creative with a completely different kind of client, for one. And two, we only work on fighter stuff on certain days of the week at certain times so that you can do it and then forget about it. Do it and then forget about it. You know what I mean? Get your job done and forget about it, because the majority of the work's on me with management. So I would say I had an intentional conversation with the team, and we tried to make a schedule built around it.
All right. Now, Oliel is established since 2020. We're almost in 2024. In
Yeah.
those 3 years, are there some achievements that you're pretty proud of? Or
Yeah,
one
man.
especially, maybe?
If there's one especially, man, we've won some awards, which is great. But honestly, if I look back and I think I'm most proud of, to be honest, it might sound corny, but I just didn't quit. I'm still here. We're still growing. We're still making money. You know what I mean? And I look back at myself from 2020, back when I was getting stimulus checks, and like that was keeping me afloat. And I'm like, I'm not living like that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm making my own money now. And I feel like not to cop out or cheat your question, but I'd say the greatest accomplishment is that we're still here and we're still growing.
That's cool. That's cool to hear. How do you, because now in the fighting management department, you're not just accepting contracts or negotiating them. You also try to help your fighters to build a brand, right?
Yes.
How do you contribute also to the growth and development of your fighters?
Yeah. So right off the bat, when I work with the fighter, I create a marketing strategy for them and a career path for 2 years out. So what we do is we ask them their goals, and then we assess them and see what their strengths are. And then we create a strategy built around their strengths. A lot of that has to do with marketing, getting their name out there, growing their social media accounts. Part of that is getting on podcasts and having their name out there in front of different group of people to promote them and promote them on social, stuff like that. But what I do early on is I create a strategy, and then I hold them accountable to keeping up with their strategy. And so I think in management, a lot of people get this wrong. They think it's just about taking a call from Sean Shelby or Dana White and saying we have a fight for you. No, that's like a 0.5% of what it is. The rest of it's helping the fighter achieve their dreams. It's not about you. It's about helping them get to where they want to be. And you're more or less guiding them along the way and connecting them with opportunities so that they can achieve what they want while you achieve what you want. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it is. It's answering perfectly.
Okay.
I also ask myself, is that the fighting world changed a lot in the past few years. You now have a lot of stuff happening on social media, and that's awesome. Fighters are doing business, right? Being visible on social media to bring attraction. And because it evolves constantly, how do you guys are staying ahead, right? Are you answering the trends, or are you remaining relevant?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, man. It's tough because it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
Not only do you have to have the time to keep up with the trends, you have to have the time to create the content every day, every day, all the time. I'll say this though, as much as we are considering trends, that's probably 10% of our focus on social media. 90% is creating brand relevant content that tells the story for Dylan and Chelsea in volume, as often as they can keep up with it sustainably without burning out or without it hurting their at-home life with their family or whatever.
Yeah.
I would say it's about building their brand, telling their story, and doing it a lot. But yeah, trends are in there too, though. I can't lie. Yeah, trends are in there, man. You got to do what works.
Now we're gonna enter something I'm really curious about: the expansion of Holy Hill Media.
Okay.
What does the future hold for Holy Hill Media in terms of expanding the reach and impact?
Yes. So I'll start with impact. Impact will always be our first focus because it matters more than money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our impact is to help small businesses, medium-sized businesses, to become stable and become the backbone of their local economy.
Yeah.
Because I believe too many corporations, too many conglomerates, big business, all these things, especially in the United States, um, they are getting richer and richer, and then the guys down here getting poorer and poorer.
Yeah.
And we know that. But I'm passionate about the underdog, man. I want people that I believe in to win, and I want the ones who are up against a lot to win. And so that'll always be the focus of impact. And so we want to go and continue to expand in areas
Yeah.
where we see people that could use our help.
Okay.
But as far as the growth itself and revenue and locations, I think our next location will probably be in London, England,
Ooh.
London, UK. Yeah, yep. So our COO, our Chief Operating Officer, um, and he's also a partner. He lives in London,
Okay.
and he's had a lot of connections there, and so he sees the people that we could work with there. But the hard part is like finding out like all the nexus laws and like money in different countries. It's like
Yeah.
hard. They make it hard, and taxes
Yeah,
and
it's difficult. Yeah.
yeah. So just trying to figure out how to do that the right way. But my goal, I'll tell you this, my goal is to for each location to produce 5 million in revenue.
All
That's the
right.
goal. That's the goal. We're not there yet,
Ah,
but
of
that's the
course.
goal.
That's a nice milestone, right?
Yeah.
And that was actually my next question. Like, are there
Okay.
some milestone that you're looking for? So that's also answered that question.
Yeah.
I had another question, which was regarding the roster, the fighters, roster of fighters, which you
Yep.
answered that you're not really looking to get new fighters under Oli Almeida, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this: if we take on another fighter right now, um, they'd have to be special.
Yeah.
They'd have to be somebody who not just the best in the world, but somebody that it makes sense to work with. You know what I mean? From their character, from their ability to work hard and their vision for their future. But as of right now, we're not looking for them. But if the right one comes along, we'll
Hmm.
consider it.
Would it have to be someone local? You would give more interest? No, you don't care. Okay.
No, no, because I believe it's a digital world, man.
Yeah,
Us right now, we're
it
talking
is.
across the world. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
But is there no plan to open some kind of fighting department with somebody that would also have a role like yours with Chelsea and Dylan to be a manager for fighters? Is that not the plan?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I actually just opened up a new company. I haven't told anybody about this, so you're kind of getting
Yeah.
the first to hear it. Yeah. I opened up a company called Underdog and Company, and this
Okay,
will be it'll be just for management for fighters, management promotion for fighters, and so
that's great.
yeah, we're looking to really get that going early 2024. And yeah, I mean, my goal is to find managers and find fighters and have the managers work with the fighters and pair them and then give them the resources to help the fighters get to where they need to be, but also for the managers to make money and get themselves out there and get opportunities as
Yeah.
well. So yeah, that's coming in early next year.
And would it be working closely with Oli Almeida or would that be completely independent?
It'll definitely be close because we're still using marketing
Yeah.
from Holy Hill to help the fighters over here. And the managers will be in charge of that conversation between Holy Hill Media
Nice.
and Underdog and Company.
Great news, man.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
We'll have another call when
Yeah,
when you launched it.
we'll put it on the calendar,
Yeah,
man.
right. We mentioned a bit of technology right now. Those days you have all those AI that can help facilitate some tasks. Are you implementing that a lot inside your own businesses?
Yes, I feel like we have to right now because I feel like most of the AI out there right now is easiest to implement to make your marketing easier.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And so, but here's the deal. They're tools. I'm not afraid of these tools. They help us be more efficient, get work done faster, be better, be more creative. All these things that we've, they're removing limitations. And the people who will succeed in the next 5 years are the people who will adapt to these tools fastest. And so we're using Chat GBT, we're using obviously OpenAI, but we're using a ton of different AI tools to make things better and faster, to communicate, to create content, things like that. But also we do these meetings all the time, man. Like the good old video calls, man. Like this is old stuff now. This is old stuff, video calls, right? Like when I was a kid, it was just a phone. You didn't have no iPhone where you had a camera and you could FaceTime somebody. It wasn't like that. But things are moving so fast. So yeah, we try to adopt as much as we can, as fast as we can.
Yeah, that's nice. I think you're right. It's just tools, and it doesn't replace anybody, right? It just, if you know how to use it, it makes your work so much easier.
Exactly.
And now let's talk about the future.
Let's do it.
You mentioned some milestone that you want to achieve with your locations. Like every location should get $5 million, right? In benefits. Where do you see Holy Hill Media long term? So not in the next few years, but maybe let's say 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
Okay. 10 years. I see Holy Hill Media becoming the go-to marketing agency, not only for services, but for education and consulting in the world.
I like that.
In the world. I think thinking just about working with people. Here's the deal, man. I've had some amazing opportunities to talk with people across, like you know, who are I've never even been where you live. You know what I mean? And I just think that as I've been able to connect with people virtually and digitally and work with people like my partner in London, I just think the world's so much bigger than thinking I have to market in Ohio and do the business in Ohio. There's cool people I want to work with. There's cool businesses I want to work with, but I have to go across an ocean to get to them, and that's okay. You know what I mean? So I would, yeah, I tell you what, but I will say this. I believe that within under 10 years, somebody's going to come and try to buy Holy Hill Media. I think a bigger marketing agency is going to come try to buy Holy Hill Media. I don't know if I'll do it. As of right now, no, because I like my job. But at the same time,
you never know.
If somebody writes a check big enough for me to go do the other ideas that I have,
yeah, why not? Right?
Why not?
Yeah.
Exactly. I could do it again.
All right. So that was actually all the questions I had for today.
Amazing.
Thanks again, Drake, for being here with us, being so open. I had the feeling that you didn't add anything that you kept in, so that's really cool.
It's not my nature.
I also think that you're gonna help a lot of people. I hope this video will be seen for some young entrepreneur, and they will see that it was never easy, but you could do it.
Yeah.
I will of course put your social media into the description, also your website. I think it can help a lot of people, and like you said, you're not only into Ohio, you can also go across the Atlantic, so no problem.
That's right.
Is there anything you want to add, like any upcoming projects that you're looking forward to?
Well, I want to say this, man. I want to thank you, brother. Your questions have been not only inquisitive, but I think the questions have been professional, man. Definitely pleased with this interview, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you, man.
Thanks a lot.
Of course, man. I would say this, as far as projects that are coming up, stay tuned, because Dylan has a fight coming up. We believe he's going to get a call here soon for a fight. So that'll be really big. Maybe he can have him jump back on with you. We're expecting a call sometime in December, hopefully for January. But yes, and so that's coming up. Chelsea could potentially have a fight with either LFA or possibly Bare Knuckle Fight Championship as well.
Okay.
Yep. So those are some things to keep a lookout for. And then keep an eye out for Underdog and Company in January.
All right. Thanks a lot, brother. I wish you a lot of success. You're a great businessman, and I think you're also a great person. That's the feeling I got. So thanks a lot, and I wish you all the success.
Likewise, brother. Thank you. Great talking with you, man.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
So that was it for today's episode. Once again, I'm so grateful to Drake. He took his time in order to be with us. He shared his knowledge, his experiences, his struggles, his advices, everything. So that really means a lot. I'm sure this video can help a lot of future business manager or even fighters managers. I will put his social media as well as his website in the description, so please guys go take a look, it's really worth it. If you enjoyed the video, please punch that subscribe button to be aware anytime we release new content. Also, let me know in the comments what you thought about Drake's experience. Maybe some of you had the same difficulties in their career. Also, show him some love because he deserves it. I will see you in the next Fight IQ show. Enjoy the fights!